Welcome to the Jim Bob Tinsley Museum and Research Center, located here in Brevard, North Carolina. My name is Dottie Tinsely, and it's my pleasure to introduce to you my husband, Jim Bob Tinsley, for whom the museum is named. Jim Bob will tell you a little bit about the concept of this video. Jim Bob?
Well, the idea came from our board of directors and you and I together and some other people that we thought that a video of the waterfalls in Transylvania County would be a good thing, because there's so many people that lived here and so many people that have come in here in the last few years that we want them to get a taste of what these waterfalls look like.
Well, they are indeed fortunate to get to live in Transylvania County. You know, our county has more waterfalls than any county in the United States of America. And of course, I don't know as much about why, but I'm sure you can explain that, Jim Bob.
Well, two or three reasons, actually. Our altitude in Transylvania County ranges from 6,025 feet to 1,000 feet. So you've got 5,025 feet there that water's coming down. And when I say water's coming down, we have the highest annual rainfall east of the Pacific Northwest. And with all of this water and with all this height and with great granite formations under the soil that wash away, it comes down these granite cliffs, and it's just amazing the type of waterfalls we have here. I know of over 250 that have names, and it's according to whatever you think in terms of what a waterfall is, that whether it's 10 feet or 411 feet, it is a beautiful thing. And I always try to paraphrase Will Rogers by saying, I've never seen a waterfall that I didn't like.
Well, I can agree with you there, Jim Bob, and I'd just like to comment that growing up here in Brevard in Transylvania County, I never realized how fortunate I was to have all this beautiful scenery around me. But after living away for many years and coming back, we are indeed fortunate, and we want to share these wonderful falls with all the visitors and residents that are in Transylvania County now, new people that have come in, and we just hope that you will enjoy this video. Maybe we can even do some other videos a little later. Jim Bob, what do you think of that?
Absolutely. I would like for us to shoot one of you in teaching people how to clog dance. Dottie teaches a course in clog dancing down at Brevard College. And it's a very unusual way to dance, but it's a beautiful way, and I'm sure that you would enjoy looking at this. And how about my getting together with a couple old cronies and talking about some of the old mountain tales that we've...
I think that's a wonderful idea. You know, there are so many great stories that exist around here, folk tales in Transylvania County and things that have happened around these waterfalls like you wouldn't believe. I think that's a wonderful idea, Jim Bob. And we're just going to have to get going and let these people enjoy this wonderful video of waterfalls, and perhaps we'll be back soon with the series number 2.
Thank you. From this tranquil setting at the river ford above Bridal Veil Falls, Little River gains momentum over the 10-foot crown of the cascade. Many spots along the quartzite base of the waterway show signs of weathering, essentially the breaking down of the rock components into sand grains. From the crown, Bridal Veil Falls spreads out into a wide veil-like design over its massive rock foundation. Some scenes in the 1994 motion picture, The Last of the Mohicans, were filmed along the Vale of the Cascade. Bridal Veil is the first of 4 major waterfalls on Little River. A complete photograph of Bridal Veil Falls cannot be taken from ground level. In 1952, I climbed to the top of a tall white pine and pulled a 4x5 speed graphic camera up by rope to take this photograph. High Falls on Little River was once called Great Falls. It plummets 150 feet. In 1940, Buck Forest Clubhouse was built by the Cox family of Asheville. The clubhouse faced High Falls and was a popular resort. For some years, High Falls was known to many as Minnehaha. It was rumored the storybook name came from a literary guest at Buck Forest. I'd like to thank Richard Tinsley, a cousin of mine who's accompanied me on waterfall trips for 8 years. That's him on the left, turning around. Triple Falls is a quarter-mile below High Falls. This set of 3 cascades has a total drop of 145 feet. As can be seen, the water eddies at the foot of the second drop before following the stream on down. This is the last drop of Triple Falls. And Little River continues on its way. Hooker Falls are wide, low, and have an unusual straight edge. Edmund Hooker settled on the south side of Little River and built a small grist mill below the falls, and people called it Mill Shoals. Later, the cascade became better known as Hooker Falls. It is the last of 4 major waterfalls on Little River, and all have been in private ownership since 1831. A little odd or unusual formation of stones in the river below Hooker Falls, standing up like stalagmites, or what we might call the Little River Stonehenge. Mary Falls is on the east fork of Laurel Creek, a tributary of Little River. There are 3 tiers that fall a combined distance of 60 feet. The earlier name for the falls was Laurel Creek Falls. The combined 3 forks of Laurel Creek flow into Cascade Lake. Tilted slab of granite poised on a cliff on the east side of Looking Glass Creek, an unlikely viewpoint from which I took the photograph of the falls with a folding camera in 1939. This is the rock slab that I stood on to take the picture of Looking Glass Falls from the east side. You can get some idea of the distance from the rock down to the falls, and also the distance from the top of the rock cliff down to the slab of rock. Looking Glass Falls tumbles 85 uninterrupted feet over a bold precipice in the Pisgah National Forest. It's probably the most photographed waterfalls in southeast United States. Looking Glass Rock, a giant monolith, rises beside the stream and towers 1,700 feet above the forest floor. During wintertime, the frozen surface of the cliff glistens, causing parts of the rock to resemble a giant mirror. Cherokees call it the Devil's Looking Glass. Drift Falls on Horse Pasture River was declared a wild and scenic river by the United States government in 1986. The cascade has also been called Driftwood Falls because of the large amounts of driftwood found at the bottom of the falls on a small island. Many fun seekers now find pleasure in sliding down the falls, and have dubbed it Bust Your Butt Falls. Turtleback is a noisy 20-foot spill, a short distance on the Horse Pasture River below Drift Falls. The broad rock formation actually looks like the back of a turtle. It's also a popular playground for folks seeking the thrill of sliding over this very dangerous rock. Any fun seeker or adventurer should always use extreme caution when exploring any waterfall, whether it's to view its beauty or to play in its water. Turtleback can be seen in the distance as the waters of the river approach Rainbow Falls. Rainbow Falls, over 100 feet high. I'm standing down in a little observation point about halfway between the trail and the river. With the right sunlight and the amount of water at the bottom of the falls, when the mist boils up there, a lot of times you can see a rainbow there. Then on moonlit nights with a flushed river, sometimes you can see a moonbow. This is a patriarch of all waterfalls in Transylvania County. Actually, the middle of the river is the boundary line between Transylvania County and Jackson. This is the lower two drops of four. The upper two are cascades that cannot be seen from this vantage point of the lower two drops. Many people have been killed going over these falls, and let me again warn you to be careful when you visit them. The master river in Transylvania County is French Broad River, so named because it travels eastward, then turns north, and then flows westward into a territory once claimed by France. French Broad Falls, pictured here, is on the North Fork of the French Broad River, located in the community of Balsam Grove. Some 20 feet to the right of French Broad Falls, Shoal Creek enters the river over what is known as Mill Shoal. where pioneer Bill McCall once had a grist mill. The combined falls were once called Elysium Falls, meaning a place of happiness. Another name sometimes given to them is Twin Falls. Quite often, Mill Shoals is mistakenly identified as Bird Rock Falls, but those are downstream. Part of the currents that are going in to make up Bird Rock Falls. A beautiful display of shoals, and spills, and runs. Beside Bird Rock Falls is a massive granite rock that hovers over the river. At one time, hundreds of purple martins built their nests in this beautiful monolith. Before the North Fork joins the West Fork down at US 64, the waters tumble over 10 or 12 different waterfalls in the French Broad Gorge, North French Broad Gorge. The ultimate source of the French Broad River is Courthouse Creek in the northwestern part of the county. The origin of that creek is Devil's Courthouse, where the waters come down the mountainsides and into the North Fork of the French Broad River. It's a narrow convergence of water that plummets about 50 feet down into a basin of solid granite. A trailhound owned by Richard Tinsley one time went over these falls, and they were out hunting coons, and it made the plunge over the rocks, and Richard thought he'd find his dog down there dead, but it was alive and shaking the water off its back. They went on downstream and treed a coon. That is a hole in the granite rock down below the first drop of Toxaway Falls on Toxaway River. Toxaway, meaning redbird in Cherokee, was a young warrior who is now buried on a hill up above the falls. It's 3,000 feet elevation at the top of the falls, and by the time they get down a number of drops to a sandy strip at the bottom, the altitude is 2,760 feet. Toxaway River is made up of a number of tributaries, including Big Deep Ford Creek, Little Deep Ford Creek, and Mill Creek. All of these tumble off Mount Toxaway, also known as Hogback Mountain. Crevice Cliff Falls is located on the southeast side of Mount Toxaway, where the Big Deep Ford Creek pours over a massive granite ledge, split vertically by a deep crevice. The deep crevice can be seen to the right of the falls here. In recent years, it's also known by the name Big Deep Ford Falls. Little Deep Ford Falls is on a small creek by the same name. The falls go over a continuing rock strata along the southeast face of Hogback Mountain. This is the bottom of McKinney Falls on McKinney Creek. Both were originally named for James McKinney, one of the first large landholders in this section of what became Transylvania County. McKinney lived below the canebrake, a large thicket of cane. In early September of 1813, commissioners representing North and South Carolina met at McKinney's home to settle a dispute over the boundary line between the two states. Some people call this stream Mill Creek. This small plaque is on the face of McKinney Falls. A young man went over the falls and his parents put that there in memory of him. Standing above the brink of Conestee Falls on Carson Creek, an observer, by looking straight ahead across the creek, has a good view of Batson Creek Falls, one of 3 joining cascades. Legend has it that Conestee Falls is named for a Cherokee maiden who fell in love with a young Englishman captured by a band of warriors. The two were united by a tribal shaman. Conestee is said to have jumped to her death from the top of the 110-foot waterfalls after the Englishman was persuaded to desert the tribe. Conestee Falls joins Batson Creek Falls below the final drop of both cascades. The 2 creeks are then squeezed together and forced between 2 narrow walls of granite known as Silver Slip. The combined creeks become Conestee Creek and flow northward toward the French Road River. It's very fitting to end this video with probably the most popular cascade in Transylvania County, Sliding Rock, also known as Slide Rock. Many years ago, young people began to slide down these slippery shoulders. This was long before bathhouses, steps, and handrails were erected. It was a favorite picnic swimming area for Dottie and me and a number of our friends in years gone by, well over 50 years ago. This cascade continues to provide much pleasure for summer visitors, campers, and local residents. If you get the opportunity to enjoy this favorite spot in Pisgah National Forest, by all means do so. It will be an experience you'll never forget. Also, we invite the viewers of this video to continue to visit our beautiful county, truly the Land of Waterfalls. I hear through virgin timber tall the love song of the waterfall, and there it mingles through the trees, a love song born upon the breeze. Plunging over rugged rocks, hear the water sigh. Come to me where you are, dear one, here am I. For this is heaven's mating call, the love